The wounded stranger, the jungle was not kind to outsiders. It breathed fog and danger. Huge leaves blocked the sun. Strange creatures watched from the shadows. Mason stumbled through thick vines, one hand pressed against his bleeding side. His shirt was torn, soaked with blood. His other hand held a broken metal tool, useless for anything except maybe to scare small animals. Each step hurt. His crash pod had landed somewhere behind him, but he couldn't return. Not after what chased him from it. His legs gave out near a dark rock wall covered in glowing moss. He fell hard, gasping. The air was too thick. His blood was too warm. Slowly, everything faded to black dot far above, hidden behind the leaves. Valia watched him. She stood very still, her violet skin blending with the shadows. Her long black robe moved softly in the breeze. Her large silver eyes studied the human. She had seen crash survivors before. Most died quickly. Some brought trouble. This one was already dying. He was thin, dirty, bleeding badly. Yet, something in his eyes, just before he collapsed, reminded her of someone she once loved. Valia was a widow. Her husband had died helping a human 5 cycles ago. Since then, she had lived alone, farming and healing, avoiding the main village when she could. The elders had warned everyone, no contact with humans. No mercy, no risk, but Valia still had mercy. She still remembered how her husband smiled as he helped others. She climbed down silently, her boots barely touching the mossy ground. She checked the human's pulse. Still alive, but not for long. "Why are you here?" she whispered in her native tongue. Of course he didn't answer. She looked around. No patrol drones. No villagers nearby. Only the jungle and her. Valia made her choice. Using a small energy emitter from her belt, she opened a hidden door in the rock wall. A tunnel lit up faintly inside. It led to her underground home, away from prying eyes. She dragged the human. Slowly, carefully, inside. It took time, and he moaned in pain once, but didn't wake. Valia laid him on a healing bed, a soft warm slab that scanned and adapted to the patient's body. She peeled off his shirt. Deep cuts across his chest. And sighed. Burn marks. Bruised ribs. Something sharp had torn through him. She used a silken cloth soaked in yellow serum from her plants. She cleaned his wounds, her hands steady. She injected a biogel into the worst cuts. Slowly, his breathing calmed. But outside, the jungle was not quiet. A soft chirp echoed from Valia's bracelet. A village patrol drone had pinned the area. It was close, less than 2 clicks away. They were scanning for movement. She closed the tunnel door and cut power to the outer walls. Her home went dim, only the soft hum of the healing bed remaining. Valia sat on the floor beside the human, listening to his slow breathing. He didn't even know her. He might wake and attack. He might be dangerous. But still she had helped. Hours. Past. Mason woke in darkness. His eyes fluttered open. He felt warmth under him and pressure on his side. He tried to move, but pain shot through his ribs. He groaned. A soft voice spoke from the corner. "Don't move. You're still bleeding." He turned his head. A tall figure stepped into the faint light. Purple skin, silver eyes, sharp features. "Not human. Where?" he croaked. His throat was dry. "You are safe, for now," he blinked. "You helped me?" "Yes." "Why?" Valia was quiet. Then she said, "Because someone helped me once." He tried to sit up again, but she held him down gently. "Rest. You are not strong enough. If the village finds you, they will kill you." Mason nodded slowly. He had seen enough in the jungle to believe her. "Thank you," he whispered. Valia didn't answer. She just stared at the human lying on her healing bed, wondering what would happen next. Helping him was already a crime. If the patrol saw signs of his presence, she would be punished, or worse. She stood up and walked to the outer monitor. The drone signal was moving away now. Good. But she knew the jungle was never quiet for long. She glanced back at the human, already drifting. To sleep again. His face was pale, his wounds deep, but he was alive. And he was here. She whispered, more to herself than to him. What have I done? Somewhere outside, a second drone flew overhead, and someone else had noticed the signs, a faint energy trail. Fresh footprints, and a strange, human-sized blood trail leading toward the rocks. The jungle had a new story to whisper, and not everyone would be kind. Asterisk. Forbidden shelter. Velia moved through her small underground shelter like a silent shadow. The space was carved into stone, lit by soft blue lights hidden in the walls. It smelled of herbs, oil, and faint jungle moisture. Everything here was built by her own hands after her husband died. Quiet, secret, and strong. Now a human lay on her healing bed. She watched him from the doorway. His breathing was still uneven, but the bleeding had stopped. His face was less pale now. The medicine worked faster on humans than her own kind. Strange how their bodies fought so hard to survive. Velia had spent years keeping to herself, avoiding danger. Yet one stranger had changed everything in a few hours. She stepped closer and touched his forehead with the back of her hand. Warm, no fever. The human's eyes opened slowly. You again, he murmured. Double quotes. Yes, you are safe here. Still. Hurts, it will hurt for days, she said. But the worst is over. Mason stared up at her, blinking. You saved me. Velia didn't answer. She turned away and began preparing a thick green tea made from jungle roots. The liquid steamed in a small clay cup. Drink this, she said, placing the cup in his hands. You need strength. He took a sip, bitter, earthy, but better than. Dying. What's your name? He asked softly. Velia. I'm Mason. A short silence fell between them. Velia returned to her small work table, pretending to focus on grinding herbs. Her fingers moved slowly. Mason studied her from the bed. She wasn't like the alien soldiers he had seen during border patrol missions. Her skin was smooth, like polished stone. Her movements were careful, almost kind. She didn't act like someone from a species that feared humans. Why did you help me? He asked again. Velia didn't look at him. Her voice was low. My husband once saved a human. The village said he was a traitor. They let him die. I did not forget. Mason felt a lump in his throat. I'm sorry. I did not help you. For your apology, she said. I did it because it was right. But now I've broken the rules. He saw it in her eyes. Fear. Not for herself, but for what might come next. Suddenly, a loud buzz echoed through the shelter. The wall screen lit up. Velia moved fast, pressing buttons on a hidden panel. A camera view appeared outside, near the mountain edge. A patrol drone hovered, scanning with red beams. Her eyes narrowed. They are close again. Mason tried to sit up. I'll leave. I'll run. You cannot even walk. I'll crawl if I have to. I won't let them hurt you. Velia turned to him sharply. And if you go outside and they catch you? They will find me too. Then both of us will die. Mason leaned back, breathing heavily. She was right. His body was still too weak. Then what? He whispered. We stay quiet, Velia said. No. Light, no sound. They will move on. She powered down everything except the healing bed, which ran silently. Mason lay in the dim room, listening to the drone's humming grow louder outside. He could almost feel the red scanner beams sliding. Across the rocks above. He thought about his mission. He had been assigned to study mineral data from this sector. A simple job, no danger, they said, but his pod had crashed. Something had hit it mid-air. Now he was here, hurt, hunted, and saved by an alien widow with kind hands and haunted eyes. Minutes passed. The drone moved away. Velia finally breathed. out and sat down on a low bench near the wall. Mason looked at her in the quiet. They really think helping a human is a crime? Yes, ever since the war ended. They believe humans bring only fire and lies. But the war ended 10 years ago, she nodded. But fear doesn't listen to dates. He lowered his head. Maybe they're right to fear us. Velia looked at him sharply. You do not look like a monster to me. He chuckled, then winced. You haven't seen me angry. She didn't smile, but her eyes softened. Later. As Mason dozed, Velia stood in the corner of the room, staring at a small metal box on a shelf. She opened it. Inside was a necklace half broken, covered in dust. Her husband's. She held it tightly. Old fool, she whispered. Now I follow your steps. She placed the necklace back and returned to the human side. His face twitched. In pain, even in sleep. She wiped his forehead gently above them. The jungle wind howled and far away in the village square. An old neighbor of Velia's told the patrol chief, I saw lights last night, near her hill. Strange sounds, too. The chief narrowed his eyes. Velia had kept her secret well, but not everyone had stayed blind. Broken body, breaking rules, Mason opened his eyes to soft light flickering through the ceiling cracks. The healing bed hummed quietly beneath him. His side still hurt, but it was no longer burning. The pain was dull now, like a warning, not a death sentence. He turned his head slowly. Velia sat nearby, sharpening a curved blade with a flat stone. Her back was straight, her movements careful and smooth. You don't sleep? Mason asked, voice rough from dryness. I sleep when I can, she replied, eyes never leaving the blade. He tried to sit up again. This time he made it halfway before the pain forced him to stop. Don't, Velia said. Your ribs are still broken. If they shift, your lung may tear again. Good to know, he muttered, lying back. She stood and brought him a cup of herbal tea. Drink, you need to move your strength from your mouth to your body. Mason chuckled a little. Is that your way of saying I talk too much? Velia tilted her head. Humans talk often. Even when they are dying. Yeah, I guess we don't know when to shut up. This time, her lips moved slightly. Not quite a smile, but close. He sipped the tea, watching her. You're not like the others I've met. You mean aliens? I mean people who follow every rule, even the cruel ones. Velia grew quiet. She sat on the floor beside him, crossing her legs. My people lost many during the war, she said. Some from your weapons. Some from their own mistakes. Since then, the elders have decided all humans are dangerous. Even dying ones? Especially dying ones, she said softly. Dying humans can still kill. Mason didn't argue. He knew she wasn't wrong. He remembered the war too, the flames, the fear, the screaming orders in his ear. He had lost comrades and taken lives, but now, he was just a man with broken ribs and one strange ally. Your husband, Mason said carefully. You said. He helped a human. Velia nodded, her face still. He helped one escape. A scientist, wounded like you, the elders found out. They let him die of infection as punishment. Mason looked away. I'm sorry. She didn't reply. The silence stretched between them like a tight thread. Suddenly, a low beep came from the wall panel. Velia rose quickly and checked the screen. Her eyes narrowed. What is it? Mason asked. 2 patrol drones. Same ones. They scanned my field again. They are circling back more often. You think they know I'm here? No, she said. But they suspect something. Mason forced himself to sit up fully, teeth clenched in pain. I'm not going to let you die like your husband. I'll leave. You won't make it, Velia said. Not in your condition. The jungle will eat you before the patrol does. I'll find a way. She stepped forward, anger flickering in her voice. And what? Lead them here by accident? Have your blood trail bring them straight to my door? Mason stopped speaking. Valia turned away and began pulling tools from a wall shelf wires. Metal scraps, small energy cores. "I built this shelter to stay alone," she said without turning. "No visitors, no questions. I broke that rule. For you, do not insult that choice by trying to crawl away like a child." He looked at her, surprised. There was strength in her voice, now steel hidden under soft words. "All right," Mason said. "I'll stay." Valia nodded without looking at him. That evening, he managed to walk with her, help slow steps across the small stone floor. Each movement sent pain through his chest, but it also returned life to his limbs. Valia guided him to a quiet corner, where soft moss grew around an indoor root spring. "You can rest here," she said. "The water is clean." "Thanks," Mason said, sitting down slowly. "This place, it's peaceful. I'd live here if it wasn't illegal." "It is not illegal to live," Valia replied. "Only to live with open eyes." He smiled at that. Outside, the jungle night fell quickly. Strange insects buzzed. Large eyes watched from the trees, but something else stirred too. Up in the village, an old woman stood outside her hut, pointing at Valia's home far in the distance. "I saw movement," she told the patrol guard. "Light. I know her husband helped one before. Maybe she's doing it again." The guard narrowed his eyes. "She's been alone for years," he said. "Even a widow gets lonely," the woman said with a smirk. Back in the shelter, Mason finally slept, his body surrendering to exhaustion. Valia sat nearby, carving marks into an old wooden tablet. Each line told part of a story, hers, her husband's. And now the humans. She didn't know how this story would end, but she knew it had already changed her. And outside, silent feet moved through the dark forest, getting closer. The hunt begins. The jungle air was heavier than usual. Valia stood by the stone door of her hidden shelter, listening. The wind moved through the trees, carrying the soft rustle of leaves and something else. She closed her eyes, focused. There it was again, a sharp hum. Faint, but growing louder. A drone. She moved fast, pressing her hand to a smooth stone panel. The door sealed shut behind her with a faint hiss. Lights dimmed. The energy signature of the shelter was hidden once again. Still, it might not be enough. Inside, Mason sat on the healing bed, rubbing his ribs. He could move better now. Walk a little. Breathe deeper. But he was still far from strong. Valia entered the room. Her face was calm, but her steps were quick. "They're coming again?" Mason asked, already knowing the answer. "Yes, same drone. It has returned 3 times today. That means they've locked this area for scanning." Mason stood up, wincing. "Then I have to leave. Now." Valia looked at him. "You're still weak. I'm not dead. I won't get stronger hiding in a hole. You already risked everything to help me. I won't let you lose more." She said nothing, just stared at him. Finally she nodded. "There is an old path," she said. "No one uses it anymore. It leads to an abandoned watcher's post deep in the jungle, far from the village patrols. Can I make it?" "If I guide you," she said. Mason was surprised. "You'd leave your home for this?" She looked away. "This place is not a home anymore. Not since I brought you here." Mason swallowed hard. He had seen soldiers with less courage than this alien widow. Valia packed supplies into a small satchel, dried root paste, a healing vial, 1 curved blade, and a smoke beacon just in case. She handed Mason a walking stick carved from a strong jungle vine. "Ready?" she asked. "No," he said, "but let's go anyway." They left through a hidden tunnel that led deeper into the forest. Moss covered every stone. Thin vines crawled over the walls like veins. Valia walked ahead, silent, her movements smooth and careful. The path grew wild quickly. Trees loomed over them, their branches like claws. Strange animal sounds echoed around them, chirps, howls, distant growls. After an hour, Mason collapsed near a shallow stream. I just need a minute, he said, breathing heavily. Valia crouched beside him. We're close. Another half hour. Mason nodded and splashed cold water on his face. The jungle was beautiful, but it didn't feel safe. Nothing did. Suddenly, Valia's ears twitched. She stood sharply, scanning the trees. What is it? Mason asked, standing slowly. She pulled out her blade. That sound, the birds. They stopped. Before she could say more, something crashed through the trees. A long, scaled creature with bright red eyes and snapping jaws leapt at them. Valia shoved Mason aside and slashed upward. Her blade caught the beast's side. It screamed a shriek. Like metal tearing and twisted toward her, Mason, without thinking, picked up a large branch and slammed it into the creature's back. It turned again, confused, wounded. Valia moved in a blur, stabbing her blade deep under its jaw. The beast thrashed, then collapsed in a pool of greenish blood. Panting, Mason stepped back. What the hell was that? A jungle crawler, Valia said, breathing hard. They hunt sound. We made too much. He looked at her hands, shaking from the fight. You've done this before? She gave a half smile. Only when I must. Mason stared at the dead creature. Thanks for saving my life. Again. You helped too, she said, surprised. I just swung a stick. Still, it was brave. He looked at her. So were you. They moved on quickly. Blood drew predators out as the sun began to set. They reached a broken tower overgrown with moss and vines. A metal plate on the wall had strange symbols and a faded map. It was once a border watch post, now forgotten by most. Valia helped Mason. Inside, the roof was half missing, but the signal blocker still worked. No drones would find them here. She set down the supplies and collapsed on a bench. Her arms trembled. One of her sleeves was torn. A shallow scratch bled along her shoulder. Mason sat beside her. You're hurt. It's nothing. He looked at her seriously. Let me help. He cleaned the wound and applied some gel. Her skin was warm under his touch. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. I've never met anyone like you, he said. Valia looked down. I never wanted to meet anyone again. Outside, the jungle calmed. But far behind them, back near her home, the patrol found signs, blood drops, broken moss, one disturbed rock. The drone sent a report. The captain narrowed his eyes. She's hiding something. And the hunt had truly begun. The truth revealed. The abandoned watchpost felt like a forgotten world. Thick vines curled around its rusted walls. The roof had holes where stars peeked through, and birds had built nests in the upper beams. But inside, it was quiet, safer. Now Valia crouched by the small heat plate she had reactivated. A pot of water steamed gently as she added dried roots and ground leaf powder. The warmth filled the room with the smell of jungle tea. Mason sat against the far wall, wrapping a bandage around his ribs. His body still ached, but he could now move without pain taking over every step. Tea? Valia asked without turning her head. He smiled. Wouldn't say no. She poured it into a clay cup and handed it to him. Mason drank slowly, eyes on her the entire time. You didn't have to come with me, he said. You could have stayed back. Saved yourself. Valia stirred her own tea. And let you die out here? Not your responsibility. You became one, she replied. When I opened that door, Mason leaned back. If your people find us, they won't just arrest you, will they? Valia looked at him, her silver eyes cold. No, they will call it treason. And I will disappear. The words sat between them like a heavy stone dot. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed outside. A branch snapped. Both of them froze. Valia stood silently, her hand already on her curved blade. She moved toward the door and opened it just slightly. Her sharp eyes scanned the jungle. Two shadows moved past the trees, tall, armored, weapons in hand. Scouts, she whispered. They followed our trail. Mason stood quickly, ignoring the throb in his side. We need to go. Valia shook her head. Too late. They'll surround us if we run. There's only one choice. What's that? I'll surrender, alone. Mason grabbed her wrist. No, you're not going to sacrifice yourself. She pulled away gently. They won't shoot me, not yet. But if they see you, they'll kill you on sight. I won't let you go alone. You have no choice. Before he could speak, the door burst open with a bang. 4 armored guards stormed inside. One aimed his shock baton at Mason. Valia stepped between them. Stop! She shouted. I'm the one you want. I helped him. Not the village, not anyone else. The lead guard was tall, with green armor and a sharp voice. You will speak to the council, Widow Valia. This is a serious charge. I know. 2 guards restrained her. The others grabbed Mason, pulling him roughly to his feet. Don't touch him like that. Valia shouted. He's an outsider, the guard said flatly. He has no rights here. Still, they didn't hurt him further. They marched both of them through the jungle, past the path they had taken just yesterday. Mason looked back once at the old watchpost where they had shared quiet moments, where he had cleaned her wound and she had watched over him like no one ever had before. The next morning, they stood in the center of the village square. A crowd had gathered. Elders sat high on a stone platform, their faces unreadable. One of them spoke, voice slow and hard. Valia of the Southern Rise, you are accused of breaking sacred law, of harboring a human, of healing him, and of helping him escape the patrol. Zone, how do you plead? Valia looked up, eyes blazing. I did all of it. Gasps spread through the crowd. An elder leaned forward. Why? He was dying, she said. Bleeding in the jungle. I remembered what my husband did, what you let him die for. This time, I chose to act before fear made the decision for me. You brought danger to us all. I brought truth to your silence, Valia said firmly. Not all humans are enemies. This one, Mason, he risked his life for mine. The crowd murmured. Some looked unsure, others angry. A young voice spoke from the edge of the platform. One of the junior counselors. Let the human speak. The elders whispered among themselves, then nodded. Mason stepped forward, weak but standing tall. I didn't ask for her help, he said. I didn't even expect to survive, but she chose to save me. She treated my wounds, gave me food, protected me when I couldn't protect myself. He looked at the crowd. You see her as a traitor. I see her as the bravest person I've ever met. There was silence. Then the patrol chief stepped forward. This human carries no threat, no weapon, no mission. He was simply lost. But still, law is law. The punishment must be clear. The oldest elder raised a hand. Enough. We will decide by nightfall. Valia and Mason were led away, placed in a quiet holding room in the council hall. Inside, Valia sat beside Mason. If this is the end, he said, I'm glad it was with you. She looked at him, surprised. I don't regret anything, she said softly. Outside, the sun dipped low and the fire of judgment approached. Escape or died. The holding room was made of cold stone, lit by a single glowing crystal in the ceiling. There were no windows, just silence and a locked metal door. Mason sat on the floor with his back against the wall, one leg stretched out stiffly. His ribs still ached, but he could breathe easier now. Across the room, Valia stood with her arms folded, staring at nothing. Hours had passed since their hearing. The council was still deciding her fate. And as Mason broke the silence, You think they'll let you live? Valia didn't answer. He tried again. You did the right thing. You saved someone's life. Right means nothing if no one believes it, she said softly. Mason leaned his head back. We can't wait here like animals in a cage." "I know," Valia replied. Her voice was low, but her mind was racing. She had survived jungle beasts, grief, and loneliness. She would not let them chain her now. She walked to the far wall and knelt down, pressing her hand against a faint seam in the floor. Mason watched, curiously as she pried a loose tile away, revealing a narrow gap beneath. "What is that?" he asked, struggling to his feet. "An old waste chute," she said. "Before this room was a cell, it was storage. I cleaned it once, years ago, when I served as a healer." "Does it lead outside?" "Not far. Just enough to avoid patrol eyes. After that, we run." Mason blinked. "You had an escape plan all along?" She gave him a glance. "I am not foolish enough to wait for mercy," he grinned. "Remind me never to play chess with you." Valia pulled a small knife from the seam and handed it to Mason. "If they catch us, we don't surrender again." He took it, understood. One by one, they slipped into the narrow tunnel. It was damp and dark, filled with old roots and dust. Mason grunted as he crawled, pain flaring in his chest. Valia moved ahead, guiding with soft hand gestures and sharp senses. The tunnel sloped upward, ending behind a stone shed near the outer edge of the village. Valia pushed a thin metal grate aside and peeked out. No patrols nearby. Just empty night and the sound of wind rustling through the tall jungle. Grass dot she helped Mason climb out. They ran half limping, half stumbling into the shadows. Behind them, the patrol guard noticed the open grate too late. The alarm blared. Red lights flashed from towers. They've escaped. Patrols scattered like insects across the village. But Mason and Valia had already slipped into the wild. They ran for an hour without stopping. Every breath burned. Every step hurt. But they didn't slow down. Thunder rumbled above. A storm was coming. Soon, they reached the high cliff's jagged black rock that marked the outer edge of alien territory. Wind roared around them, pulling at their clothes. "We can't climb this," Mason said, gasping. "Not like this." Valia looked behind them. In the far distance, red lights moved through the trees. She reached into her satchel and pulled out a small device, a flare beacon. "What's that?" Mason asked. "A human emergency signal," she said. "Your crash pod had one. I took it. You held on to that this whole time?" "I hoped I wouldn't need to," she said, her fingers tightening on the trigger. "But I do." She activated it. A soft beep. Then a flash bright blue, shooting into the sky like a comet. "They'll see that," Mason said. "They already know where we are. Let's make it worth it." Minutes passed. The rain started cold and hard. Lightning cracked the sky. Mason stood with Valia on the cliff's edge, clutching the knife she gave him. They were surrounded by jungle and patrols trapped. Then a sound. A WHOMP-WMP in the clouds. A shape descended through the storm. A human dropship. Its spotlight cut through the rain, sweeping across the rocks. The patrols reached the base of the cliff and raised their weapons. "Don't move," one shouted. Valia stepped in front of Mason. But before anything could happen, a voice boomed from the dropship loudspeaker. "This is Human Command. Stand down. We are retrieving our citizen." The patrols hesitated. No one wanted a war to start again. A figure rappelled down from the ship, landing near Mason. A human soldier, battle-scarred and serious, grabbed Mason by the arm. "We've got you, sir. You're safe." Mason looked at Valia. "She comes with me." The soldier frowned. "She's not part of the mission." "She is now," Mason said. More patrols arrived. The standoff grew tense. Fingers on triggers, blades drawn. The cliff was moments away from becoming a battlefield. Then, an older alien elder stepped out from behind the guards. It was the youngest counselor, the only one who had listened. She risked her life to save his, the elder said. Let them go. The lead patrol officer hesitated and then stepped aside. Velia looked at the counselor in surprise. He bowed slightly. Your husband would be proud. The ship lowered further. A platform extended. Mason helped Velia step onto it. As it rose into the air, wind whipping around them, he held her hand tight. They had escaped, but the story was far from over. The choice that changed everything, the dropship soared high above the jungle, slicing through clouds and storm winds. Mason sat near the window, watching the green world below grow smaller. His ribs were taped. His clothes were soaked. But he was alive. Across from him, Velia sat quiet, her hands folded in her lap. Her violet skin was scratched and wet, but her eyes remained calm. No fear, no regret. Just silence. The human soldiers said nothing to her. Some stared. One whispered something rude under his breath, but Mason's glare stopped him from finishing it. She saved my life, Mason said clearly. Twice. Treat her with respect. The crew turned away. No one argued after that. When they landed at the human border base, Mason helped Velia down the ramp. Soldiers surrounded them, weapons lowered but ready. A tall officer stepped forward. Commander Hensley, you look like hell, Lieutenant. Hensley said with a faint smirk. Good to see you too, sir, Mason replied, trying to stand straighter. And her? The commander asked, nodding toward Velia. She's not my prisoner, Mason said. She's my rescuer. Hensley narrowed his eyes. An alien from the restricted zone? She broke her people's laws to save me. Protected me when I was bleeding and helpless. She deserves asylum. At the very least, your respect. The commander didn't answer at first. Then he waved a hand. Get them both checked in. Medical, food, quarters. Velia stepped forward, unsure. I do not know where to go. Mason took her hand gently. Stay with me. Just until we figure this out. She nodded, eyes softer than before. Days passed. Velia stayed in the secure guest wing of the base. Mason visited her every day. She learned to speak more human words. Mason taught her. She laughed at his strange accent. He smiled at her stubbornness. They were different completely, but something between them kept growing. At night, Mason often sat by her window, talking about Earth. She spoke of her village, her husband, the quiet plants she used to grow. Two worlds, colliding gently, but not everyone liked it. One evening, Commander Hensley called Mason into his office. He didn't smile this time. There's a problem, he said, sliding a datapad across the desk. Mason read it. Then again. They want to send her back? The Alien Council requested it. Said she's a criminal, accused of aiding the enemy. She's not the enemy. I know that, Hensley said, but politics don't care. They say if we don't return her, they'll close the peace talks. So we trade a hero for a handshake, Hensley sighed. This base isn't a courtroom. I'm following orders. You have 1 day. Mason stood, fists clenched. Then I'm taking her with me, off this base. I'll file for joint mission status. Temporary partnership under medical grounds. You'd risk your career for her? Mason's voice was calm but strong. She risked everything for me. Now it's my turn. That night, Mason found Velia sitting alone in the greenhouse. She looked peaceful among the earth plants, roses, mint, sunflowers, but he saw the weight in her shoulders. They're sending me back, aren't they? She asked quietly. They want to, Mason said, but I won't let them. She turned to him, surprised. You would break your rules for me? You broke yours for me, he replied. Besides, I don't think I ever believed in those rules. Velia looked down. If I go back, I'll be erased. My name, my home. Gone, then stay. Mason said, we'll leave this base together. I'll get us reassigned. Somewhere safe. Somewhere new. She hesitated. Your people won't trust me. Then I'll stand in front of you until they do. A long pause. Valia reached out and gently took his hand. I never thought I'd feel safe with anyone again, she whispered. But I do, with you, Mason smiled. Then it settled. 2 weeks later, under a new mission charter, Mason and Valia left the border zone. Their new assignment? A distant human-aliens joint colony where peace wasn't a dream, it was being built. They worked together. Valia teaching alien healing methods, Mason training in mixed field operations. The locals called them the pair who broke the wall. And sometimes at night, they'd sit beneath unfamiliar stars, remembering the jungle, the cliff. The moment the world tried to break them and failed, Valia planted herbs outside their shared quarters. Mason carved her a bench by hand. They didn't need a ceremony. Didn't need anyone's approval. They had already chosen each other, not as rescuer and survivor, but as something far deeper.